Moo and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pinktron. I am Brent Robinson. I am joined today by Steve Pritchard. Steve, what are you drinking?
I will have played Fridge Roulette tonight, and it's come up with a Brewdog Hoppy Xmas festive IPA. Clearly just left over there since December. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
They say that's the perfect Easter drink. And I'm also joined by Craig Martin. Craig, what are you drinking?
So I have a nothing to see here East Coast IPA from Refined Fool. Yeah,
Nice.
nothing to see there.
It's
The
a really
video
cool
version.
can.
Yeah.
It is a cool can, which comes across so well in the
I
podcast.
say, what are the comics of on the can? Like, is there somebody getting in trouble? Is someone beating up Batman?
So house on fire, being robbed and vandalized, and yeah, all at once.
Hmm. Speaking of stealing things, you can steal a win in your age group if you race in the herd of spring chickens race series, which this week was on Cass Pats for a lap and a half, I think, or three quarters, give or take. 43K custom finish. Terry Rigby wants me to let everybody know that the finish is not at the banner at the top of the KOM. So
It's
that's
actually
good.
it's actually a bit further than I thought it was going to be. So, having done the dirt racing series on Tuesday, which also finished at Pittigom, but didn't finish at the lap banner and nearly being caught out then. It's a probably 100 meters into the descent. So I tried to go early and be ahead of two sprinters, and one of them dropped 14 watts a kilo and put pay to that idea in my race. So
Good. We
we've just been
just
joined by Chris.
Chris looks like he jumped right off the golf course and right into his podcast recording studio, but he also looks like he has a delicious drink. Chris, what are you drinking? Oh, you're on mute, Chris.
Rookie mistake. How does this Zoom thing work anyway? This is a new technology for me.
Episode 478 of the Patreon. You're on mute.
Oh my gosh, amateur hour over here. Yeah, I actually have been on the golf course all day. Just got home from basically a 2 hour drive home, but this is a Lagunitas Brewing Company Hoppy Refresher. It's a non-alc like hop sparkling water thing. I'm not sure if we've had it on the chat here before, but it's tasty as kind of like a hot day hydration refreshing drink. So I'm going to do one of these and then crack into one of the bottles somewhere littered around my office. I haven't decided which, but I'll let you know.
And did you golf in the Zwift ball cap?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
I love it so much. I love it so much.
it's my
Sorry,
go-to cap. Yeah, it's pretty
just before you
comfy.
got here, Steve was telling us all about how he had managed to try the panache attempt on the second round of the Petit KOM.
Yeah, it's
Oh
it's
my
two
gosh.
it's nearly two laps. You go up Petty Co twice. I think as Brent was saying, not Brent, Sean was saying last week, it's a bit different to the race before. So you've got to kind of weigh up when you're going to get dropped if you're definitely not in that first group. So I decided to get dropped after about 4Ks because there was a group behind me that looked like they were going a pace I could actually sit in and threshold in the group, and they had 2 minutes on another group which I thought I'd stay ahead of. And yeah, that second time at Pedico, I could just about hold threshold. So having done a very chilled lap up to it as well. So yeah, it was pretty cooked by that point. So
And this is the no freaking chickens
yeah.
racing. Okay, okay.
Um, Yeah, so and the usual chaos, you've got no idea who you're riding against, because you can't see people's ages. There wasn't quite as much of exchanging of ages this week, so in the chat. But yeah, it's a good course. It's a fun course. Like I'm really glad it wasn't a points race. I think it's about the only review I can give of it because yeah,
Wait till
it's
next week.
fun, but it's hard at the end.
Nice.
And
Look forward to doing that tomorrow, probably.
Mm,
yeah, so in Caspats you go the flat direction or the rollers direction to start?
flat.
Yeah, so
Flat.
flat direction out. So it's really flat until that little bit before the aqueduct. Then you hit Pity KOM, and then you do it all again. So flat direction through aqueduct, Pity KOM. And then the finish is sort of probably 100 meters into the descent, 50, 100 meters into the descent. So there's actually a little bit of a rise after the banner.
Yep.
So you've really got to kick through that, I think.
Cool.
Fun.
Yeah. So numbers look good. So there's lots of bodies out there. So still lots of opportunity for people to get into no spring chickens and get some points. See how you stack up against people in your own age group. Are you racing these days at all, Craig? Or are you
I haven't been. I think I'm going to.
nice? Nice.
Yeah, I've had some busy. So yeah.
Fair enough. I may see how good my 105 RPM is in my small ring. We'll see.
Fair enough.
All right, that brings us to herd beginner racing, which this weekend will be on.
Bike choice is Pinktron though, right?
Oh yes,
That's
sorry.
right.
Bike choice is
Very much.
definitely Pinktron. Yep.
It is just one. Yeah. Or
Yeah.
best around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There'd almost be an argument for a full arrow, but I think your best choice is Pinktron.
Yeah. I think
Just
you
because
have
there's
to
so
be
much flat.
Yeah, you have to be the guy that's trying to break away on the first climb to really make that argument stick.
Yeah. I would almost certainly take a Pinktron. I don't know.
Yep.
I just hate giving up that much weight for very little arrow gain. I think
Yeah.
compared.
Yeah.
I'm already chunky enough as it is. Sorry if that needed a trigger warning. All right. Good call.
Speaking of chunky, what's going on with the hat, Brent? It's a pretty
Dude, it is minus
pretty
6.
thick. Oh my gosh.
Minus 6 Celsius. So I don't know what's that in Fahrenheit.
Inside the house?
10? No, outside, but
Okay.
I was doing a lacrosse team bottle drive outside today, so I have not quite reacclimated to my indoor temperatures.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Plus I feel like my wife has put the thermostat at the spring setting, even though it's still not very spring-like outside. With a snowfall warning. So,
Yeah, we got no snow this year. We barely had any winter this year. It's yeah.
Yeah, we have mostly mild, but we only anyway, we don't need to get into like the climactic impacts of southern Alberta, but essentially we're in like borderline drought conditions.
Yeah.
So like every time we get snow these days, it's like, yay, we're gonna all be able to shower in July.
We have literally all of the water here at the moment. Just the cloud has to look at us, and then like the fields flood again, like floods across the roads. It's not fun.
Yeah. Anyway, so yes, that is why I'm still wearing a toque, as we call it in Canada, indoors in March. All right, let's go to TikTok for herd beginner racing.
Hoping for a better segue out of that, to be honest.
Oh, I already did one good one.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to listen back to the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very flat introduction. And speaking of flat, TikTok.
Thank you, Steve.
It was mostly flat across the desert. Oh, that was good. I was gonna go with other things that will keep you warm or riding through the desert. TikTok
we could have gone. There's a drought in Alberta and places that also often have droughts. Oh dear. Anyway, there's not much to say about TikTok, is there? It's flat. It'll be a sprint at the end. Don't get dropped from the group.
Yeah, desert. There is like for beginners, I think the Col du Saddle Springs out counts as a climb. You got to be on your pay attention as you come up out of the desert, and then through the underwater tunnels back around. There's a little gravelly uphill false flatty type thing as you come out of the city back towards the desert, and then so just you'll be hurting by there if you're in a good race, and then hang on to the finish.
The little climb out of the tunnels as well, isn't there? There's always
there is a little climb out of the tunnels.
Always a little point where people will stand on the pedals a bit.
Yeah, I've never seen an attack work on that. I don't know if it's just everybody sees it coming for too long or it's not long enough, but I've never seen it stick.
I think we've said this before, though. It's not the attack never works, but it often drops people, if that makes sense.
That may be. If you're on the bottom and
Yeah.
you're not ready for it, you might be off the back. That may be true. That may be true. Yes, so be ready for that. Yeah, so it is the classic herd beginner race. If you've been doing the series, you've almost certainly done it. But if you are new to Zwift, and keep in mind it is a scratch race, it's just first guy at the finish. That's all you got to worry about. And best all around bike, Arrow if you got it, Pinktron if you got it. Yeah,
Most Aero thing that is not a TT bike.
exactly. All right, and that brings us to Climber's Gambit, right on time, Chris.
Yeah, every now and then I get things right. I think speaking of TT bikes, I think this weekend is one where you will want to dust that off because we are doing Breakaway Bray 2 times up it over the course of about 13K or so around Scotland. As a reminder, Climber's Gambit is our hill climb series, so the only thing that matters is your time up the KOM, KQOM segment or segments. This weekend it's 2 times up, so combined time. Breakaway Bray is like 600 meters at not much of a percent, but it does have a little polka dot banner at the top, so we are going to count it. And we're going to do it twice. Should be a pretty, I mean, seconds in between the top few in every category, I would think. Not a huge amount of climbing to be counted this weekend. And I don't think there's any argument for anything other than a TT bike given those specs, but
I don't think so. Yeah, this one's as much about there's a bit of pacing here on just how hard do you go the first time, given you've only got a few minutes to do it again. But
Was it, or is it the full lock loop all the way around? Between?
yeah, I think so.
Okay, so there is a pretty good.
yeah,
There's a pretty good gap between the two.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just a matter of how long you can hang on for that.
Yeah, 400 meters at
45
2%
seconds.
average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's start early for, in terms of like the pacing question, I think it's start early, right? The steep, well, not too early. I guess it starts kind of flat and then the steep switch back to the left up and a bit down to the right. And then it actually tips downhill before you get to the finish. So you definitely want to have speed up through that switchback. I think the question is how early do you start to ramp up your speed to get up to speed, right? Because it's about a 40, well, I think I can do it for 49 seconds or something like that. Maybe not quite that fast. For sure under a
I don't
minute.
know if I never done, I think, a full out effort on this. I've never done like a points race on this course as far as I know.
So I think I see Cy Seymour at 47.
Okay, so that, so
I think that was in a
49's
drafting.
bit
That was in
aggressive.
a drafting race, though.
Yeah.
Chris Roberts 48, Gavin 48, Sam Reganini 48. Yeah. Kerry 49, Kerry Lash 49.
Yeah, I've got a 44.7
Okay, nice.
in a ZRL race. So I'm sure that was time.
Yeah.
A 45 in a stage 1 O race Scotland.
Yeah. Lorenique, Gary Bramwell, Felipe Alberto, Brian O'Connor, all right around 49. Yeah, it looks like a pretty good time to target for
Yeah,
really good C's and B's. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
even
it's going to be a fun 1 minute power test, I think, for me.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah, because even in Stampede, in the middle of a Stampede, right? So not necessarily like just doing it, I still cleared 58.9.
Yeah.
So I would think even the C's will be right in a minute. These might be a little over a minute. So yeah, that's kind of goes back to my question is like at a minute, like you don't want to be only stomping once you cross the line. I think you got to be ramped up to speed, right? Because if you just cruise in
Yeah.
and you're only doing 25 kilometers an hour and you step on it there, you're gonna definitely scrub time. I think you want to try and
Yeah.
hit, I'm gonna say 40 kph,
Yep.
maybe 42, 43 before you hit that line.
Yep.
And then go up from there. So you'll probably need to start speeding up from when you, let me think, if you're coming that from where, when you go past the bridge, right? There's that bypass. When you go past the bridge from that bypass, I think you're going to want to start ramping up your power there and your speed before you hit the line, and then probably push up to your full target power, really ramp it up on the switchback, and then hold on as long as you can.
I don't know this one well enough, to be honest.
Yeah, there's
Is
like a
this
little
the
town.
corkscrew?
No, it's like a little, it's by the town, right? So it's the very end of that lap down at the
Yeah.
far end through that castle thing.
Yeah.
And there's like a little town where the banner starts on the left, and then it goes a bit off on the right-hand curve, and then that's pretty flat. Then you'll see a switchback going back up to your left, and that's the steepest part right there is in that switchback.
Mhm.
And then it holds on at about, I'm gonna say 5 or 6% as it turns back to the right until you get up, and then it crests maybe 50 meters from the banner. And then it goes
And then
back
it's
and it's
flat
a
at the
little
top,
downhill,
yeah.
into
Yeah.
the banner. So you gotta, that's the thing, is basically you want from the bottom of that switchback till you get to like the apex of that right-hand turn. You want to like be on your max power for kind of those 30 seconds. And then it's whatever you can hold on to till you get across the line, essentially. You'll be fading off, but like I said, you'll be into the downhill by that part.
So is the hill. Yeah.
I think is the strategy. So
And just out of
Cool.
interest,
Thank you.
because I don't pay much attention, why are we saying TT bike rather than a climber?
it's only 2% average.
Yeah.
You'll be doing, let's think, if it's 400 meters in a minute, you're doing about an average of 30,
Just under 30.
just under 30,
average. Yeah.
just under 30 kph.
But you're
But it-
doing over 30 for a big chunk of it.
Yeah, and if you're doing like 55 or 50 seconds,
Yeah.
which I could see A's doing it in 50 for sure. Then you're looking at they're doing over 30, right?
Yeah.
So the aero gains will outweigh the weight penalty on
Yes.
that 2% climb, essentially.
Thank you for validating my theory.
Sean, post in the comments how bad we got the math on this.
I know.
Alright.
So, oh, we have a route for mountain goats.
Yeah.
It's
And it is the
mountain
mountain route.
And there's no extra details in the mountain goat sheet, so we'll assume that it's just mountain route, I think. And go from there.
Zoom
Bike
mountain.
change. I'm going to say it. Bike change.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Oh, you know what?
Top of the radio tower.
yeah.
Your slippiest bike at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess number one, let's assume, yes, you are going all the way down. Number two, let's assume because this is mountain goats for all sorts of reasons, you're probably not going to be in some big group.
Yeah.
So you could almost go, if you're allowed, full TT, but certainly anything slippery. I wonder, yeah, change. You
So I
probably
remember
say
doing this in like Herd Summer Racing 2 or something
Yep.
like that. And a bunch of people did a bike change at the top of the radio tower. Okay, different pack dynamics,
did.
different super tuck rules, all of
Yeah.
those things. And they all made up time back on us. And like we stayed in the group and carried on, and a bunch of people changed and were able to catch back on, including Bowser, I think. He was behind me and caught back on the dam.
Oh, so I didn't catch on. I DFL'd the climb. Because I remember that race. I was the worst C there was. But I think I came very close to winning the sprint. So
Probably, yeah.
which
Like
put
that.
me kind of into the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just be aware that if it doesn't say 1 lap when you start this, it will almost certainly finish at the top of radio tower on the second lap. If it shows a custom distance, that will almost certainly be the finish.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're just looking at this and all it tells us is that is the route. We don't actually have the distance or the finish location. So generally speaking, Mountain Goats finishes at the top of something. So if you're in the start pen and you're not seeing 1 lap, maybe we're good. 15.6 kilometers, is that the route? No. Oh, so it's finished at the top of the radio tower. It's half.
It is. Yep.
So it's only once up the radio tower. So look at that. Matt has
That's
been
good.
very kind to you all.
Well, no, because that means you're pounding it up the radio tower.
Fair. You can always do the descent for fun in kilometers and XP.
Yes.
But yeah, it is 15.6 kilometers, which is almost certainly a radio tower finish. So don't
Yeah.
worry about change. Well, you should change bikes after you finish the race. So like climb as fast
Yes.
as you can to the top of the radio tower, pass out, climb off your bike, die, put on your TT bike and see if you can get your 100 km/h badge if you don't have it down the radio tower. Is actually the move. And then pick up some free XP on the way down.
Yeah.
Good deal. Have fun, all you mountain goats. That will bring us to the Stampede, which is just a classic Bologna. This is the last week of the current Stampede series. So, hopefully everybody's fit, feeling strong. And I mean, Bologna, still a TT bike is your fastest option, but sometimes the lighter TT bike is better. Would C's and D's bike swaps, Steve? Would they do that on Bologna? No, you just take your TT
I
bike.
think some people tried it in the club champs or on whatever the one we did.
Bowser often does.
A bike swap.
Yeah.
I think it's tough to save 10 seconds over 8 minutes there.
I think it
is.
depends how much you want to over under as well.
Yes.
Well, even then, you don't want to be stopped. So however much you want to over under, you're still putting the same power in on the climb, and the only difference is that you stop for a second. Or 10 seconds, 20
10
seconds, however long
yeah.
it takes you. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like to use a lighter TT bike. Like I don't usually take the Cat X. I usually take either
this
Felt IA or Scott Plasma are pretty good. Or the lighter.
Cervelo P5, I think.
The regular P5, not the P5X.
Yes.
Yep, those are all good choices. And then I usually don't take a full disc. I usually put on NB 7.8s or Zip.
Yeah, I think
is that or 808s?
Yeah,
I think it's 858.
On that though, I think the DT Swiss discs changed the math on that. I think they're enough better that they're it.
Yeah, could be. I think it gets so close that it's almost irrelevant, frankly.
It is. Yeah, it's within a second either way, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, and I know we've talked about the pacing on Bologna probably approximately a dozen times on the Pingtron, but essentially you're targeting like 90% of threshold on the flat and then 120% on the climb. I would say that might be a little aggressive if you can hold 120%, but if you can get there, that's the number.
It's as hard as you can go. There is a geek post I did on.
It's because Craig's face has literally lit up at the prospect of talking about this topic again.
Yeah. So on four races I did, all averaged 4.0. And with different pacing each time, different times each time, and looking at the climb and the flat on screenshots from intervals. It's great fun.
Wow.
We can link it.
But that was the answer though, wasn't it? It was sort of 90% threshold and then
Yeah, well, I mean,
120 plus.
I never found too slow to start or too hard on the climb. It's very much go harder on the climb.
It's really a question of your personal fitness and how much like slowing down in the first bit will let you go harder on the second bit.
Yeah.
Like for some people at threshold, they're only giving up 5 or 10 watts maybe on the rest of it. For me,
Yeah.
like if I go 90% of threshold, I probably gain 30 or 40 watts on the climb.
Yeah.
It is almost exactly half and half in time. So just so everyone is curious, like it is
For a pretty good B.
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
These will probably be more
A lot
time on the
longer on the
climb
climb.
and
Yeah.
shorter on the flat. That is very fair. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it actually gets even more important to go even easier this
On the flat.
like the
Yeah.
harder you're gonna find the climb. I guess that's the way to put that.
I think the other tip is that it does get easier nearer the top, which is the bit I always forget. You've got the two horrifically steep bits with the columns either side of you, and then you switch back under those, and it goes back to about 5%. And I think I've made the mistake in the past of not going hard enough on the steep bits and having a bit too much left on that bit that's not quite as steep. And actually, I think
I've
going
never had that problem.
Hmm.
I have never had too much left at the top.
Shocked.
I get to that and think actually I'd probably like not too much left, but kind of I do a sprint finish and think, should I have used that on with your classic one, hammer the hard bits the most? Like actually I should be really hanging on that bit near the top. And I think I'm often like using up what I've got left, if that makes sense.
It does. My usual modus operandi though is to like try to go even harder on that first
Yep.
steep bit when you're on the left side of the columns and absolutely die before you go back underneath the right.
Yep.
I have burned up several times there. Trying to go like 400 watts and being like, oh, died. Now I'm doing 200 watts.
Yeah.
I think it's one of my favorite TTs exactly for this because it is a pretty much a 50-50 split, and you just it's sort of almost a warm up at the start. Then it's just a case of like I'm like how long can I hurt and how hard can I hurt for like a big effort. Not like some of the other courses we talk about where it's like you're going to have to put little efforts in throughout and that kind of thing. This is a sort of cruise up, then go really, really hard.
Yeah.
I guess in terms of like absolute maximization too, I think the other thing to remember is even within like we call it the flat bit, but it's actually not flat. There is a downhill start. So, even come out even a little easier until you hit the downhill. And then there's a bit of roll to it. So if you can kind of just get, steady there, and then it does start to turn up, like actually at about after the 5th kilometer, right? In that 6th kilometer, you start to see a little rise. So you actually do need to start ramping it up in kilometer 5 to get like, we're talking about squeezing out half
a second
here.
Yeah.
But if you really, really want to optimize it, that's really what you're looking at.
Yep.
Good. All right. Well, thanks everyone who's raced Stampede over the last 9 weeks. This is the last one. It looks like 5Bs are like have 8 races in, and our friend Kev Fowler is gonna win the A's. He would have probably won it anyway. He's just killing it lately, but he's gonna win it by dint of being the best guy to show up.
Yep.
In the event. Good. All right, and that brings us to the bullseye, Craig.
So bullseye. Did we? I messed this up. Okay. We actually have 1 week remaining. I messed that up. That's not a new. So I thought we had this was the start of a new a new series, but we do have 1 week remaining. What we need to do there is Seaside Sprint. And that is going to be, sorry about that. I just lost where I wrote down how many laps we were going to do. We are going to do 4 laps. So that will be.
Is that just the 4 sprints just at the bridge, or do you have to sprint at the volcano now? I don't think it works on volcano because you
No,
don't
it
do a
does not.
volcano
No,
lap.
it's
Yeah.
So we're not doing volcano lap. So the volcano does not count. It is just the finish. Actually, so 3 laps, 4 sprints, because the lead in will count on that one. Yeah, 3 laps, 4 sprints.
Yeah. So if anyone's not familiar with Seaside Sprint, it's from the downtown Pens through the S's, into the JWB Sprint, I think
The
it's
bridge
called.
sprint,
Or,
yeah.
Yeah, the bridge sprint. Over down the Dirty Sorpresa, out over the land bridge, into the volcano. You have to do kind of that risey climb up to where the volcano banner is, back out of the volcano, back into the S's, rinse and repeat.
Yep.
So the lead in essentially ends from the Pens to the sprint, and then you're into the lap. Best sprint in the game.
It's a really good sprint.
Yeah, I think it's got the most interesting lead in, all that good jazz. So
yeah.
Remember, it's first at the banner. You don't have to worry about time or any other stuff. So
yeah,
I have one
tactical. I have one there with Panache attacking from the beginning of the
hill.
S's. Well, no,
from the S's. Oh, okay.
From the first dip in the S's.
I always try and do the one from the bottom of the hill, and it never seems to be.
No,
quite far
that's
enough.
hard because everybody's we're already going hard there. It's hard to break away because everybody's already going hard.
It seems like all you do is lead them out down the hill.
Yeah.
The better timing is to get the timing on the downhill and sprint, and you really want to be like on the wheels / coming through when you hit the start of the sprint line, basically.
Yeah. You're well, depends on how big your group is, but you're looking at being, not at the back of the group anymore if you're looking at a smaller group. When you hit the sprint line, and you want to be drafting the first few guys.
Good, and that is the week in herd racing, which brings us to Round the Horn, which my suggested Round the Horn topic in honor of Easter and Easter treats is, what is your favorite splurge treat thing after doing a long hard ride, especially like springtime riding? If you're inside, it's always kind of the same weather, give or take, but outside it's kind of miserable, and Lord knows we can all deserve a treat if we've been outside in the cold, wet weather or something. So other than, of course, a tasty Pinktron beverage. What about you, Craig? Do you have a favorite treat that you like to have after a good hard ride?
I've got to go. It is the IPA. It is having a beer. If it after a cold ride though, that's where the hot chocolate with a bit of Bailey's.
Nice. How about you, Steve? I know the Brownlees always talk about having I think it's a sticky bun or something like that if they get
really?
a treat.
Like, I think
if they get a treat.
I don't often do this after rides. Like sometimes you just come home and have lunch, basically, after a long ride here. But no, it reminds me of when I was at uni. I got quite into fell running, which is basically cross-country running up and down hills, for people who don't know it, in the north of England. And one of them was sponsored by Saurine, who make malt loaf, which is like a like quite dense fruit cake. It's probably the best way to describe it. It's actually really, really good for energy post ride because it's got like loads of sugars and things like that in it. And yeah, good. So I basically they were giving everyone who'd entered a malt loaf for taking part, and we were there having a drink afterwards, and the guys were packing up, and they said, "We've got a box of malt loaves. Do you want them?" So we, being students, said yes and lived off them for about a month. So yeah, malt loaf with a bit of butter, always quite good. Nice post-ride thing, but similar to Craig, a hot chocolate on a cold day. Although I tend not to go outside when it's cold because I just don't. I really dislike being cold. Give me a really, really hot day over a really cold day anytime.
That's a malt loaf. I'm gonna have to look that one up. I can say that is a thing I've never eaten before.
Yeah, it doesn't sound all that delicious.
A malt loaf.
I'm being
it
perfectly
needs,
honest.
It needs some way better branding, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Needs to be like a tasty loaf or a a
No,
wonder.
I've heard
cake.
malt loaf before, but I have not tried it.
Because the name's terrible, right? That's like a typical like British name.
I haven't had the opportunity.
It's like Marmite. Like, I don't want to eat that. Like, I don't care what it tastes like. It's called Marmite.
It sounds like an insect.
It might
Malt
make me
loaf.
throw up.
Yeah. Malt loaf sounds like something you squeeze down your pipes to help fix a clogged sink or something.
I don't know. I mean, it's like it's not that separated from meatloaf, and like you North Americans love that, don't you? Which is
Ooh.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I guess we do. But yeah, again, not the best branding. Not the best branding on meatloaf.
That's right.
Marmite have doubled down. So Marmite is fully advertised in the UK as you either love it or hate it, which they've doubled down on that brand.
That's their slogan?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They've run full adverts of people eating it, being like, ew, and people eating it being like, no, they've doubled down.
Oh my God.
They've really bought into it. It's really clever marketing.
Oh
well. So Chris isn't eating malt loaf with Marmite smeared over it. What are you having, Chris? Malt loaf with Marmite smeared over it would recover a lot of sugars and salts that you lose on a bike ride.
Is that a feasible combination? Would the malt loaf be a good vehicle for the Marmite?
I think it would be absolutely minging to
either
eat,
device.
But,
okay.
I'm sure people do spread Marmite over malt loaf. I can't think of it being a great combo.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, post ride, I'm a big fan of an actual meal post ride, but I don't know if it's just me, but there is no substitute for a cold beer in a hot shower. Is anyone a fan of this?
Like
beer in the
100%.
shower?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No. I've heard of it, but no.
Have you tried it, or you've tried it and you're not a fan?
I've tried it, not a fan.
Not a fan. Okay.
No, it just doesn't do it for me.
No, yeah, especially maybe a ride that, I mean, I never ride in anything that's below 65 degrees Fahrenheit anyway, but on a 65.5 degree ride when it's a little chilly, maybe you have to wear the 3/4 bibs and you come back and you take a nice hot shower with the steam and have a cold Miller Lite in the shower. That's it for me.
I've only ever done that after winning team sports, but I can say it's very good having run at team sports. So.
Yeah, same thing. It works for really any situation. I would urge you to try it again, Craig.
Brent is wearing the face of a man who is very confused to where this topic has taken him.
No, you know what it is so Steve has posted in the chat a recipe for malt loaf, and so that's what I'm reading, and it's of course like the most British thing in history because the recipe calls for 175 grams of malt extract. First, all the directions are in metric, which I think we've talked before about how Canadians what we use for measurement is all about context. So typically most Canadians are unfamiliar in recipes with what the metric measurements are for everything. We would use teaspoons and ounces and all that kind of jazz.
I do love that this recipe is full of grams, milliliters, and teaspoons.
Oh yeah, it has all three. Perfect. Okay, maybe it is a little Canadian.
In the UK, we just like to invent shit up. So yeah,
recipes. I know. Yeah.
And sometimes you get recipes that have cups in, and like my wife and I every time have to Google what a cup is. You just think,
mils,
yeah.
But then
we'd probably throw in half a pint in there just for good measure as well.
But then in the tips, it says you can buy jars of malt extract from the well-being section of the supermarket or from the chemist, which I assume the chemist is the same as
Love
the
it.
pharmacy,
Yeah.
just what we call it. I'm sure if you told someone to buy something in Canada from the chemist, they would be like, I'm not going back to high school to talk to my chem teacher. So it's good. I gotta say, the picture actually makes it look pretty tasty. It looks kind of like banana bread. Or I
Yeah, a
guess
bit.
maybe
I
like a,
mean, probably a bit. It's a bit denser, but yeah, similar
yeah,
idea. Banana bread's also a good one. Yeah, banana bread,
yeah,
good post ride.
banana bread is delicious. I will say, so what I
Goes
was
with a hot drink. Yeah.
what I was gonna say for my treat is in the one of the very common both mountain biking and road riding routes is a little town on it called Bragg Creek around here, and in it is a cafe called the Cinnamon Spoon, and they serve the
Mm,
most amazing cinnamon buns. So after you're done biking, it's very common to see. I mean, people cycle past there on road bikes all the time, so like they have big bike racks and everybody stops there and you get a treat. And then if
yeah.
you, it's also close to a big mountain biking area, so yeah, there's lots of times trucks with mountain bikes hanging off the back and stuff like that. So you stop at the
Ooh,
Cinnamon
yeah.
Spoon for a big cinnamon bun. The
Uh-huh.
you get a coffee and some cinnamon bun. It's pretty dang good. Pretty dang good.
I can see that. The tough thing for me is like having that as a mid-ride break. It's always tough to get back on the bike after a nice extended warm
Yeah,
cinnamon bun and a nice latte or espresso. You're
yeah.
Yeah.
pretty much
You're
done
not
after
trying to
that,
set any
right?
PBs on the way home, that's for sure.
No, you're just trying to make it home.
Now we might have to do a bit of like East and West Atlantic clarification here. So a cinnamon bun to me would be like a pastry swirl.
Yep, you're
Yeah.
on it.
Cool.
Actually,
Yep, same.
yep. And they are
But
delicious.
it, but a lot of cafes make them like the size of my head.
Mm.
Yeah, they're pretty big. Not quite that well.
Maybe
Yeah,
not the size
they're
of my
big.
head, maybe the size of
Yeah,
Brent's head. Yeah.
I would say in the grand scheme of all the cinnamon buns I've ever eaten, they're in like the top quartile, but not like the top 10%
Yeah.
of size, right? They're bigger than like, the supermarket 6 for $5
Yeah.
type size ones that you can buy too. But they are delicious. Yeah. So that's definitely I think my favorite thing. Although I'm like, I don't know, I guess this is maybe why I continue to be a very average weight person is I'm like a post ride absolute dumpster. Like I come back to the kitchen, it's like, what is in the fridge? What can I throw in my body? Because I am
Yeah.
ready to just chew my own arm off. So
Yeah. So I find I get like that after a really cold ride or workout.
yeah.
The worst one was after a half marathon in -20, and I
Oh,
just
oh,
yeah, I just walked into Wendy's, ate 2 hamburgers, like 4 orders of fries, and just yeah,
yeah.
there was a lot of calories burned in keeping warm.
Yeah, running is
There is
running
there
is
is a
worse than cycling.
there is a genuine fueling thing here. I was looking into kind of fueling on the bike, prepping for a big ride I'm doing around Dartmoor in the summer, and like most of us, like average people, will burn 700 calories an hour. Um,
Hmm.
so if you're taking on 1 gel an hour, I think they're about 500 calories. So you're
Yeah.
still running a calorie deficit. And like a number of times I would jump onto it and not eat. And like that's probably running quite a big calorie deficit. And then like you say, you do a big ride like that and you come off and you come off from the ride and you eat a burger and a load of like calories, which are
Yeah,
kind of like almost like not empty calories isn't the right word, but calories that aren't really like fueling you.
the
Just
wrong
yeah.
things. Yes.
So actually, some of this is like fuel better on the bike,
Yeah.
and then
No, it
don't
is.
feel badly afterwards. But I like cinnamon buns are amazing, so I'm not going to stop eating them.
Yeah, I don't. Do you guys usually use gels when you're on your Zwift stuff, or do you guys use
No.
other stuff? Yeah, I never use gels on Zwift. I don't. I mean, I have used them outside because they're so convenient, but on Zwift, if I'm getting into 90 plus minutes or into 2 hours, I usually bring like a granola bar or a banana.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
But
think if it's over an hour, like anything under an hour, I don't bother. Yeah,
yeah,
over an hour, I've tended to bring something like that. But
I'll
the
bring
big
Gatorade for a race if it's like a
the big
45 minute to
difference
an
I've
hour
made
race.
was getting electrolyte, not electrolyte gels, but like the um electrolyte drinks, like the
Yeah.
tablets you can put in. Because when I first got into Zwift and was trying to race four times a week, I just went up to about 3 weeks just getting massive cramps the whole time, and it was
Yeah.
like trying to rehydrate on water just wasn't working. So it's all about the recovery Miller Lite, isn't it? That's the essential.
It is, although I need to do some serious recovery at this point because I feel like I've had a couple of hard weeks mixed in, and I've already got knee problems as it is, but I feel like my knees, my hamstrings, all like the soft tissue around that is just like a little bit aggravated from the couple of weeks that I've gone a little too far in the red. So maybe some extra Miller Lights, maybe backing it off for like another 4 or 5 days or so, and some light zone 2 stuff is probably the way forward.
We got
Hell
one
yeah.
month. We got 1 month, Chris. 1 month.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, you're right. Yeah, I gotta stretch it out a little bit.
That's what I've got to get
I'll
some
figure it
longer
out.
stuff in.
I'll figure it out. I'll rub some dirt on it. It'll be fine.
I did hear anecdotally on gels during a ride that did you have fig rolls or fruit rolls, like biscuits filled with like jam almost
Oh, like a
over
fig
that?
Newton.
Fig Newton, Fruit Newton,
They
yeah.
apparently have mostly the same amount of sugar and all that sort of content as a gel does, and a bit more interesting to eat. So one of my friends swears by them. Takes out fig rolls.
Oh yeah, I'm a big real food person when I do stuff like this. Like my real big thing when I'm if I'm doing like real long, if I'm going like 2, 3, 4 hours, that kind of stuff, is I'll bring a peanut butter sandwich. Like that's
Nice.
that's kind of my
That
go-to.
that is a great mid-ride snack. PB&J, yeah.
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 Crush that all day long. And I don't
Things
even
that
like bananas, but I'll eat bananas on a ride too.
things that sound disgusting, like peanut butter jelly, like that's another thing that like I would be up there in that need to remarket. Like it just doesn't sound like a combination of textures and flavors that I ever want to eat.
Yeah, I don't usually get the jelly on my mid-ride one. Just peanut butter and bread is usually it. The jelly tends to be a little too messy.
Yeah.
Just
I mean,
a light coating, a light skim coating of jelly.
Yeah, because I'll eat it like right while I'm riding on the bike, even like you just have it cut in half in your little sandwich bag in your jersey pocket, whip it out.
Given
I feel
how
like
given how sweaty that can get, I can't imagine anything worse than pulling out this like sweat covered jam bit of bread.
It's inside a
Trying
baggie.
to eat it, and then like, I mean, Chris's handlebar takes enough of a science experiment anyway, but like smearing jam all over the handlebars afterwards.
Introducing fruit elements to it.
Yeah.
Probably not the best move.
The Ziploc keeps it just as dry as like a gel or a gummy chew or whatever the other stuff that you're gonna get from the store that they'll convince you is scientifically better.
Yeah.
Oh god, jelly babies. That's another good ride snack, isn't it? I remember doing a long mountain bike
Yeah.
ride, and that's the only time I've experienced properly bonking and like basically mainlining jelly babies until I felt better. Was the only way I could go there.
Yeah. I actually feel like for me, and having come from running, I never fueled on training runs at all. I mean, so my longest so the only time I really felt it was when my training runs got out to the 3.5 hour mark, which was probably silly. I shouldn't have gone that far. I should have stayed at 3 hours. But because the 3.5 was the full marathon distance. But I didn't fuel. I'd take one bottle of Gatorade and kind of drink that by the time I got to 2/3 the way through, and then finish up thirsty. But yeah, I'd feel a little harder in the marathon race because that's going harder. But yeah, I
And
don't know why.
let's be clear, no part of this advice is probably optimized for performance. So like if you're a serious athlete who's actually trying to
No,
like
don't do what I did.
win
Don't do what
races,
I do. No.
don't follow any of this advice. If
No.
you're trying to
We're-
like stay a little bit fit and have some fun, you're our kind of people.
Yeah, this is the place. We're a cautionary tale, if nothing else.
Oh, good stuff. I think on that note, we will say that we've all had some fun tonight. So we will say thank you to Craig Martin. Thank you to Chris Greenland. Thank you to Steve Pritchard. Thank you to everybody listening. Enjoy your races this weekend, everybody. Moo and good night.
Like,
Bye.